Good afternoon to you. Mark Suttle with HurricaneTrack.com here with your off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for Tuesday, May 14th, 2019. Check this out from the Bureau of Meteorology, Australian government. The INSO wrap-up just came out today on the 14th, and the big headline here, the INSO Outlook decreased to El Nino watch. And what that means, if we look at this graphic here, they have decreased it from their color scheme here from the alert, which is where it was right here recently, downgraded to just a watch because things are fading with the El Nino, the INSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. That's what that means right there. INSO, things are fading away from this, and they don't consider it an El Nino yet from their standards, whereas the United States-based Climate Prediction Center does, just to make that clear. So why the downgrade? Well, part of it is this. This is the Subsurface Equatorial Anomaly back on March the 9th. And this is the surface of the tropical Pacific up here at the top of the graph, of the chart, whatever you want to call it. And then this is, well over 400 meters deep. And through various methods, buoys, etc., scattered throughout the Pacific, you can get a profile much like a CT would do on the human body. You get a slice, and you get to see what the profile is of the temperature of the tropical Pacific. And along this area, this is the equatorial region here. That's why it says that right there. So this would be way over on the east side of the tropical Pacific, 100 degrees longitude, and this is way over on the west side, well past the date line. I mean, this is 140 degrees east longitude, for goodness sake. So this takes up a huge chunk of real estate, and that is important because at this point in time, back in March, the subsurface was well above normal. A lot of energy well above the long-term average in the subsurface of the Pacific Ocean, as fairly strong and anomalous. Anomalous is just a way of saying it's not normal. Anomalous westerly winds were coming across from this way. Okay, west would be over on this side. East is on this side over here. And that was driving this warm water generally from west to east, and it surfaces over in the eastern Pacific. I mean, South America's over here and can't run into the continent. You can only go up. That's not exactly how that works, but it's mostly the trade winds that kind of create this conveyor belt. But the bottom line is we saw this, climate models saw this, human beings saw this, whatever, and we were like, oh, okay, well, looks like El Nino is coming. Now, fast forward, I guess, about 60 days later. What happened? Whoops. It all went away. Well, not all of it, obviously, but a lot of it went away. Now we have far less upper ocean heat content in the tropical Pacific. You can clearly see that has waned away. Now that is being replaced very steadily by subsurface anomalous cooling that expands basin-wide. So, again, from 100 degrees west longitude all the way over here to 140 east longitude, all the way across the tropical Pacific, underneath this area of warmth, which is dwindling, there's this area of cooling, maybe a little bit of an attempt to grow another warm pool way over here in the far western Pacific, but that's pretty far deep, and it's very, very minimal. There was a drop in the SOI recently. We call that the Southern Oscillation Index, and we had a weak westerly wind burst event probably still going on where the winds were coming in more from the west on an anomalous scale than we've seen recently, but I think it's too little too late, and there you have it. So as a result of this and other factors, the folks down in Australia saying that it doesn't look as likely that the chance of El Nino coming is now only 50%, and I think they were looking at 70% in their April update. All right, so what does all this translate to if we look at it from the surface perspective? This is below subsurface, this is the surface. And a couple things to point out. First, notice the subtleties here. This is updated yesterday. This is the NOAA-NESDIS sea surface temperature anomaly map, the departures from normal. And I want you to notice, look right through here, right along the equator. I'm going to draw it in blue. All these yellows in here, stretching out across the equator. That, and I'm going to take the blue away now, so pay attention. Look at the yellow that's in there. If you look closely, and I know it's, subtle, but we're really losing it, all right? The warmth in the Pacific is dwindling. And it won't be long before we start seeing more of these little speckles of blue. Those are going to start to show up. Why do I say that? Well, let's go back to the subsurface. Look, it's, knocking on the door. There's an anomaly in there. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 shades. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, between 3 and 4 degrees Celsius below average, showing up here in the eastern Pacific. All right? So eventually, as the trades kick in, and it's getting to that time of year where we will see stronger trades naturally, and those will blow across here from east to west, and that'll help to upwell this water, and that will chisel away at this warmth, and it won't be long after that, folks, that we will see more of this blue shading here start to trickle in across the tropical Pacific. I do not believe we're headed towards a La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino, but the very important thing about this, very limited impact, I would expect, from any warming of the Pacific as we go into the hurricane season. And you bet the NOAA Hurricane Seasonal Forecasting Group, Phil Klotzbach, Dr. Klotzbach and his group at Colorado State, they're looking at this, and any forecast revisions, especially from Colorado State, or the first forecast that will get issued from NOAA coming up here in a couple of weeks or so, less than that, I think. They're going to look at all this, and then you also see the tropical Atlantic not doing too bad. It's not scorching warm or anything, but it is a far different look, let me just show you, than it was 4 years ago, the last time we had any semblance of an El Nino. This is 2015. I'm sorry, this is not 2015 yet. We're getting there. This is 2019. There it is right there. See, I can read. 2019, and then notice right through here, mainly, all right, and then over here for the INSO region, this is today, and this is what it looked like 4 years ago. Oh, come on. So that's what an El Nino looks like. That is not. All right, so, look at the two. Tropical Atlantic back then, clearly right here, much colder relative to average than we are seeing this year so far. And the subtropics up here also warmer than average. And so with the loss of any significant El Nino, a fairly warm tropical Atlantic, especially right here south of the African continent there, the southwest portion of Africa, the Gulf of Guinea, right off here of Dakar, the Cape Verde or Cabo Verde area. This is all much warmer than average. Strong West African monsoon. I'm not thinking, I see nothing to make me, I talked about this last week. I don't see a reason to think we're going to have a hyperactive season, but a regular busy season with 10 named storms, 12 named storms, whatever, it just depends on what data set you look at. I don't see a reason to think we'll have a below normal season. That doesn't mean it can't happen. Believe me, you never know. It's only mid-May. But these are the signals that we look at in the off season. Kind of like watching sports. How's the health of the team doing? Whatever the sport is. You've got a couple people that are the highlight players, the marquee players. Are they doing well? How's your recruiting class? Sports and hurricanes analogies, they do go hand in hand sometimes. And right now, sort of the outlook for this team, if you will, of different players, right, in the tropics looks fairly favorable, not overwhelmingly so, for a busy season compared to a slow season where there's not much hurricane activity at all. I don't see that set up as of yet. That can change, just like in sports. You can have injuries and so forth and so on. All right, well, it's not hurricane season yet, thank goodness. Still has to I have a lot I got to get done, but it's coming. All right, the Eastern Pacific season begins officially tomorrow, and we'll be talking about that in earnest. And these updates will start to become more frequent, not quite daily just yet, but I'll definitely be looking at the Eastern Pacific more and more. First, though, a quick look at the Western Hemisphere, the deep tropics coming off Africa all the way over to the Caribbean. You notice for our friends down in the Caribbean Sea, starting with the Windward and Leeward Islands over here, up through the U.S. British Virgin Islands, etc., finally the Greater Antilles, Puerto Rico, and beyond. Clouds, yeah, a few of them, cumulus clouds mainly, but no organized areas of precip, no tropical waves as of yet. And so it's going to be pretty dry through this region down here, all the way over to Jamaica, Cuba for the most part. No rain in sight, no tropical waves to worry about. This front that just came down produced tennis and golf ball size hail up here near Garner, North Carolina, and a heck of a gust front from my good friend and colleague Jesse Bass. He shot that down in Buxton yesterday on the Outer Banks. But the bottom line, we got this front that's draping over the Gulf. That just won't reach down here, obviously. It's not wintertime, so you don't get that deep penetration. And I mention this because we do have a lot of followers in the Caribbean, and it's not just tropical cyclones that you're looking out for. You want to know when it's going to rain to keep your cisterns full. Your cisterns, however you say it. Keep those things full, the fresh water. You need it falling from the sky. Now, the East Pack. Yeah, it's hurricane season officially tomorrow. Let me just kill this tab, get rid of that animation. Fairly active intertropical convergent zone down here, and that is a fancy schmancy way of saying where the air from the northern hemisphere is converging with the air coming in from the southern hemisphere, if it'll let me draw. And those two collide, and you get this rising motion along the intertropical convergent zone. It's intertropical because it spreads through the tropics throughout the globe. And in some cases it'll be active, other cases it won't be. I liken this to a grapevine. And sometimes you get these grapes that get ripe and they develop. So we'll be watching this very closely for our friends along the southern Baja, along mainland Mexico here, from the resort areas on down to Central America. Not usually too concerned about Costa Rica and Panama, or even the Pacific side of Honduras, Nicaragua, of course, Guatemala, El Salvador, but mainly folks here in mainland Mexico up here. Let's just get rid of this for a second. This is your prime area for hurricane strikes, generally speaking, that and the southern Baja. Now, later in the season, usually later, it's early and then later, how it works. Some of these will develop, and they come up, and you get a trough like this one, digging off the west coast, and they'll turn with that trough into the desert southwest. And that's when I head out here, like I did last year for Rosa, that came up that way, and in 2014 for Norbert and Odile. Josh Morgerman intercepts these in Mexico proper, and I go and get the leftovers up here with the flooding concerns in the desert southwest. It's amazing how those two correlate sometimes. And even, just a quick history note, I don't know exactly on this map where Patricia came in, somewhere along this area in 2015. Strongest hurricane ever recorded, 215 mile per hour winds. Josh Morgerman was down here for it. And then I went up to Houston as we tested some of our equipment that we still use, at least the technology concept, today, 4 years later. All right, neither here nor there, just a little bit of history for you. So we will be tracking tropical action in the Eastern Pacific. This is the 2019 list of names, beginning with Alvin. We got any Alvins in the room? Anybody named Alvin watching? How about Barbara? Cosme. Now that's a good name. That's a good, strong name. I like that. And then Delilah. And finally Eric, Flossie, Gil, Henriette, all the way down if we happen to use a lot of names. And typically in the Eastern Pacific we do. We'll get through Mario and what is that? Narda. I had to squint and look closer. I don't have the camera on me today because I look like I just woke up. So at least you can't see me. I've been working on stuff. I got a couple of amazing things to show you at the end here. But I look like I've been, I look like I have a hangover, even though I don't drink. I certainly look like it today. Ragamuffin Mark. But back to I did have to squint at that. And it's a good thing you can't see me. Priscilla, Raymond, Sonia, Tico, all the way down to York and Zelda, if we go that far. All right, that's the Eastern Pacific list of names. And just for fun, in case you were wondering, when we get to the Atlantic season, we'll start out with Andrea, and then Barry, Chantal, Dorian, Aaron, and so forth. Maybe we will use 12 of these this year. Something like that. We'll see. That might be 12. I don't know. That's coming up, though, a couple weeks away. All right, real quick. Lower 48 weather. Another big reason why I do these outlooks in the off season. Keeps me tuned and tuned in. Also keeps me doing the sort of broadcast thing, and it's just good practice. But it also serves the purpose of just keeping people aware. A very busy, we don't even have 24-hour news cycles anymore. Now it's more like 15-minute news cycles. Something else geopolitical comes along every 15 minutes, sometimes less than that, depending on who's tweeting, right? And it gets pretty crazy pretty quick. So this is the convective outlook for today, but here's what I want to show you. The next several days from the Storm Prediction Center, this is today, marginal in Missouri and in eastern Florida. Not a big deal, but starting tomorrow, the day 2 outlook, things begin to heat up way up there in North Dakota. But then at day 3 and beyond is when things really start to get interesting, especially 4. See that? 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, the heart of Tornado Alley going to get active. So now the question becomes, will I have a chance to get out there and try my idea of setting up several cameras, and this is just an approximation. Let's say they put up a high risk in this area for one of these days. Now let me paint it in red here. That will be easier to see. Let's say they put a high risk up for right here. It probably wouldn't be that large, but you get the idea. I would love to stick 6 of my cameras, my remote operated cameras, along a line south to north, and just see what happens. Not chase them. I mean, I feel very strongly against that these days, except for scientific purposes, and I'm not some, holier than thou, don't storm chase. There's just too many people doing it. And you know what? It's your right to do so, but I'm not going to go out there and get caught up in that. So I'd like to set up cameras ahead of time like I do for hurricanes and just see the atmosphere in motion. See these supercells as they develop. See the lightning at night. These cameras I've got will run for several days. And on a multi-day outbreak like day 7 and 8 there, that could be interesting. So if this persists through May, I've got a couple of things coming up that I can't avoid. If I get back in time and I can go out there, I will. So stay tuned for that. But more importantly, forget about me. You guys be safe out there. Be ready for this. Be mindful of it. Those of you that live there, those of you that work in the business, right? You have insurance, interests, recovery, and planning for hail damage, wind damage, you name it. This is a peak time coming up, similar to if I were to say the tropics are about to get busy and we're going to see a couple of hurricanes develop. That would get everybody's attention that watches my channel on YouTube and follows me on social media. This coming up out here in the alley is the equivalent of that. Big outbreak. Probably an outbreak we haven't seen for several years coming up because it's going to be multiple days and the pattern's going to be favorable, likely through the end of May. All right, so please be aware of that. Now, look at this. 2017. Yes, it's 2017. But this is a giant move for me. It is on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime, the 2017 edition of Tracking the Hurricanes. You can own it, or you can rent it, buy it, whatever, but you can also watch it for free if you've got Prime, like I do. And I just was able to put this on here recently. as a documentary producer. I got it in, and I'm now on Amazon. Woohoo! I'm so excited about it. This is a great distribution platform. I'll also eventually create a channel on Vimeo and add my titles there as well, going all the way back to 2004. I wanted to start with 2017 because until the one for this year, 2018, gets released in 2019, comes out, the 2017 version is the best so far, until you see 2018. So it's on 2017 Prime. It's real easy. It's, you know, how search algorithms go. All you got to do is put tracking the hurricanes, and it'll pop up. And you can probably even put tracking the, and it may show up. But tracking the hurricanes 2017, there's the cover art for it. It's on there. Director Mark Sudduth, starring Mark Sudduth. It should also say starring Harvey, Irma, Maria, and Nate. By the way, if you haven't seen this and don't know anything about it, look at the synopsis here. The 2017 edition, until I did the one that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and I'm hinting towards that. We're getting there. It's remarkable. You know, the work that we did, we launched our weather balloon in the eye of Hurricane Nate. It was at night, but it still worked, and it's pretty good. And you get your money's worth. It's, you know, 141 minutes, so I don't give you some short version. If you're a weather geek and you like this kind of stuff, check it out. Share it with everybody you know. It's on there. Now, when is this one coming? If this will let me click. Everybody wants to know, when's Tracking the Hurricanes 2018? Well, it is absolutely the best work I've ever done. I have shared a screener copy with the producers, as they say, and that would be the people who help to finance it. And that's not just, oh, here's $10,000, go make a movie. It's the crowdfunding, Patreon, our subscribers, our members, our sustaining members on HurricaneTrack.com, our insider group. Those are the people that get to see it first. Just like movie producers, when the director finishes, they all sit in a screening room and they watch it. Well, I don't have a screening room that I can invite 150 people to. Well, I do, but that's coming. Hold on. So I shared it on Patreon the other day and on our Hurricane Track Insider site. Minus the end credits, it was a cut, like a, not a rough cut, but the director's cut, the producer's cut, whatever. And the response has been fantastic. People are just stunned, especially, as you can imagine, about the Michael chapter and how it ends. The ending of it, the last 30 minutes, is absolutely remarkable, and you bet I'm going to hype it up, because when I watch it, I try to stand back and pretend like I didn't make it. I am floored myself. I did the music for it, composed it, and actually played it on synthesizers, not just editing pieces of music and rhythm sections together on a computer. Pretty much anybody with a decent amount of talent can do that. I'm talking about literally creating a theme and the music itself, all the playing and the composition, the recording, the mixing. I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm just letting you know that's all in there. And so, when can you see it? I'm getting to it. This is such an important piece of work that I had to do it right. First of all, on May 30th, here in Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm going to show it on the largest theater screen outside of IMAX that money can buy. That's right. Regal Cinemas, 7 p.m., May 30th, Wilmington, North Carolina, in Theater 16. I'm going to premiere this, I won't say for the world, but you get what I mean. No red carpet, nothing like that. So if you live anywhere near Wilmington and you can be here for that, that's coming up. I will talk about it more as I begin to promote it soon. And that's happening, May the 30th. And then on May 31st, Friday, literally at midnight that night, Thursday night into Friday, this title will be available on Amazon, but it won't be on Prime. I mean, I can't do that. Come on, it'll be about a year from now that I'll put it on Prime, where you can watch it for free, if you will. It'll be the same thing. It'll be $2.99 to rent it, and it'll actually be $12.99 to purchase. Cheaper than a DVD. When I would sell DVDs, I mean, who even has a DVD player anymore? You got to ship them, and you can only cram so much onto a 2-hour disc. I could do Blu-ray, but then those things are $25, $30 a pop. And you got to keep up with it. It can get scratched. It can get lost. But Amazon and Vimeo, that's the cloud. And hey, what goes better with a hurricane series than clouds, right? So yes, putting it on the cloud, seriously, this is what I have been looking for. So I will be able to give it to a global audience at a very reasonable price. It'll also be on Vimeo as well. For those of you that prefer Vimeo, a wonderful professional tool system for creators such as myself. So that's coming up May 30th in Wilmington. Then it gets better, like the guy says, but wait, there's more, right? The commercial guy. Can't remember who it is. Is it Billy Mays? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I get distracted. It gets better because in June, and I haven't picked a date yet, we're also going to show it at a Regal Cinemas in Tallahassee, Florida. Yep, for free. I forgot to mention that. Those theater showings, no cost at all. You come out, it's free. We'll show the film. It'll be a theatrical version where I'm going to cut out about 18 minutes of backstory and get to the good stuff, if you will. The full director's cut will be on Amazon, and the theatrical version, you can take your pick or have both of them. It's just the one for the theater will be about an hour and 45 minutes. The director's cut's 2 hours and 3 minutes. And again, it's more backstory. The longer version has Alberto and Lane and a little sequence about the 2018 season and how it was progressing, the predictions for last year, a little bit in there about the Tahoe and its long career, and then, of course, Gordon, and then it led up to Florence. That takes about 18 minutes, something like that. And I'm not showing that at the theater because I got to have a smaller time frame. So the director's cut will be the one that'll be on Amazon in its full glory, but I'll put the theatrical version on as well. Anyhow, Wilmington, North Carolina, May 30th. You can tell I am so excited about this. May 30th, Tallahassee, Florida, to be announced sometime in mid-June probably, and it's going to be incredible. So I'll talk more about it, and and the final trailer I will release on Wednesday. This coming Wednesday, the final trailer for the show, the movie, the film, will be on YouTube and elsewhere this Wednesday. All right. Thanks for bearing with me. I appreciate it. We covered a lot of information here. It's almost hurricane season, 2 weeks away. Hard to believe. We had a lot to discuss over the coming weeks and months to keep you aware, informed, and most importantly, safe. And that's my job to do so. Along the way, I do these documentaries. I'm very proud of that. And I hope you will enjoy, at least for those of you on Prime, checking this one out. And then not long from now, we'll have the 2018 edition. Thanks for tuning in from your side of the screen. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. We'll talk again early next week.